G'day, I'm Matt, Basic Extremist 89 from Melband. I'm in response to the official gear walkthrough video thread, so hope you enjoy it. I'm here to take out my rig a bit, quite obviously. First of all, I'll start off with what I go into first, and then obviously I'll end with what you hear. So basically first, I've got my pedal board. I run straight into that from the base. It's pretty straightforward. What I do is I go straight into a Zoom B1, which is basically a multi-effects pedal. I only really use it for delay if I need it, and also just a normal tuner. But yeah, it does the job for the delay. I mean, it's one of the cheapest multi-effects pedals around, but you know, it does the job. Basically straight out of that, goes into a Zoom, not a Zoom, a Boss LS2, which is a line switcher pedal. The reason I have this is basically one channel I have, which is B, is completely clean. So what it does is go straight in through the bass, straight back out, goes through all the rest of the stuff which I'll tell you about in a minute, and then goes straight to the rig. So clean channel is basically clean, as you can see. And then I've got my overdrive channel, which is a little bit more complicated. What that does is it sends out the original signal from the bass, goes into this little custom box, which is a little box that my dad kind of invented and I built. It's basically just a 2-channel mixer. So what it does, it takes the original signal of the bass, sends it to a Yamaha Magic Stomp pedal, which basically is a Sansamp sort of emulation type thing. Sort of simulated after a Sansamp VT pedal, but I found it to be a little bit better. I had a little bit more low mid, so I tend to use that than the Sansamp VT. So it's all USB custom programmable and everything like that, so I'm pretty happy with that. And they're pretty uncommon too, so they should be more popular because they're fantastic pedals. So basically, yeah, it does that. I always use that for distortion if I need it as well. I just switch between the normal overdrive and the distortion. So basically it goes out of that, and then the signal goes back into the box, and it gets mixed with a 200 Hz low-pass filtered signal of the original signal. Now the reason I did that is because I found when I was running with the Sansamp by itself, I was losing that nice natural low end of the bass. That still had a bit of low end kept, but it was very sort of muddy sounding, and it just didn't sound right. It just sounded like shit in terms of low end. So I did that, so that way, you know, I got the nice fat low end, and I get the best of both worlds basically. So, so that's that there. You've heard the clean channel already, and this is my overdrive pedal. I usually use this patch mainly if I'm doing any kind of band stuff. It's got a nice, you know, twang to it. Really nice, cuts through nicely on the top end. So that's basically my pedal. So once that gets sent back into the line switcher, it goes out to a Ibanez Weeping Demon wah pedal. I use this very rarely, but you know, it's pretty cool to have now and then. You can create some good, you know, porno sounds with it. Need to get right on there. So I'll use that now and then if I want to sort of have some fun. And then basically out of that goes to a Boss loop station pedal, an RC2. Which is pretty cool if you're doing solo stuff. You can record something and then play it back and record some, you know, solo stuff on top of it, which is pretty cool. So it's an expensive pedal. It's really friggin' expensive, but I love it. And you know, I wouldn't use it typically in a band situation, but it's pretty cool if you want to muck around with some solo shit. So basically, that's the last stage of the pedal board before it goes into this box, which is it's pretty much the pulled apart Behringer DI box that I built into there. So it takes a normal, just, you know, unbalanced signal and sends it to a balanced signal, so I can send it to the rack. So once it goes to that and it gets sent to a balanced signal, it goes into the rack. There's my equipment rack up here. I run what's called a bi-amp rig. For those of you who don't know what it is, it basically means I use 2 amps for 2 separate frequency ranges, whereas most people just run into 1 amp and have it as a single channel amp and they're happy with that, but I'm a bit more friggin' fussy. So bi-amp basically consists of, firstly, it goes into, I've got 2 separate channels, one doing low end and one doing mid and highs, and each cab sort of does the different frequencies. So firstly it goes, once it gets into a balanced signal, goes into a Yamaha D1030 crossover. They don't make these things anymore, and I'm really spewing, it's from the 90s. They don't make them anymore, and if it ever got stolen or something, I'd have to replace it with an analog one and it would just be completely shit. So I hope to have this as long as possible. So basically what this does is split my frequencies up. So it's the first thing it goes into. The low end channel goes from basically 28 Hz to 100 Hz, so it's a really narrow frequency range, it's only low end. Basically out of the low end channel, it goes into a DBX subharmonic synthesizer. This is basically an octaver, but it's a little bit more smoother. It doesn't have that sort of synthesized sound. It's more of just the solid octave note of the bass. You might hear some albums that have got like subharmonics. This is what they do, and it took me ages to find one, but I ended up finding it, and I'm really happy with it. So I've also modified it as well, so it's foot switchable. I've got a foot switch on the pedal board, so I can keep playing and set it at a certain level, and just foot switch it on and off if I need subharmonics or not. So basically, it gets sent out of that, goes into the first channel of the DBX 266 XL, which is a compressor gate unit. This is probably one of the most affordable compressor gate units you can get, and they're really decent as well. They're obviously better than the Behringer ones, which you can actually hear the compression coming in, whereas these do a pretty good job of it. So goes out of that. I run both a compressor and a gate on that channel. I use the compressor part basically, so if I'm doing slap or whatever, it doesn't really peak on the amp, and it hopefully doesn't blow it up. So that's what I use that for. And then basically it goes out of that. It gets sent to a custom built amp, which my dad actually made. He actually works for Yamaha. He's been there for 20 years, and he builds all kind of stuff, and he's a genius when it comes to electronics. So he basically used the same amp modules that are in a Yamaha EMX 5000 mixer, but he used the power amp from what's called a Yamaha T5M, which is their top 5 kilowatt amplifier. So it's got a really decent power supply in it, and that's how he gets the wattage out of it apparently. So it's 500 watts into 4 amps per channel, but I have it at 1000 watts at 8 ohms bridged.